And we're live. Pontus, thanks so much for joining, man. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
You were just telling me earlier you're in France right now. What's the occasion?
My girlfriend wanted to study France and take some time off here, and I figure why not follow her and work from here with Midday.
Very, very compelling. Living the digital nomad life, I see.
Yeah, but I would say France is probably not the best place because of course, it's a bit expensive,
hmm
but they have great wine here and yeah, great people.
sounds cool, man. And you grew up in Sweden.
Yeah, so I'm from a small town outside of Linköping, which is really, really small. And then I moved to Stockholm uh, several years ago.
Very cool. And you went to university. You're self-taught.
Oh yeah, I'm self-taught. Actually started. Yeah, I moved to Stockholm when I was 19. Out of like, I learned to program at my mother's business website, beauty salon, which she forced me to do because I said I'm gonna do it, and then she's like, "Yeah, I have this saloon now, but I also need a website. So please fix it." And I ended up basically building all the companies in this small village where I'm from. And based on that, I got recruited to a agency in Stockholm when I was 19. Yeah,
I love it. I love it how you went right into it just to solve your personal problem, right? Your mom's
yeah,
in this case. And I
yeah.
feel
I
like
didn't
the
earn
story
any
is the
money.
same. Yeah. And I think the story like keeps on going the same that you met Victor at Klarna, if I'm not mistaken, and then you identified some problems that compelled you to create
Yeah.
Midday. Why don't you tell us about this?
Yeah, so yeah, I've been running my own consultant firm since 9 years, working on a bunch of different companies, startups, agencies. But yeah, I joined Klarna. What is it, 6 years ago, and I stayed there for 5.5 years. Yeah. Yes, I was a consultant, so I still had my own business. So I worked as a freelancer, and there is where I met Victor. And since then, we have been best friends. We have done a lot of things together, building a lot of things, and of course, having a lot of fun along the way. But yeah, basically, he was employee there, and when he quit there, he started his own studio, moved to Malmö. So he's worked at as a freelance designer, and then that's when he realized all the struggles and pain points that I've been telling him about running a freelancer business. Paperwork, be on top of things, send invoices, time track, and basically you end up with a scattered workflow, which is a pain to do in Sweden. Like every month, you need to collect all these kind of things, and it's a lot of time and effort. So basically, when my current invoicing system said like, "Hey, you need to change to this country-specific bookkeeping software," I said, "It's enough, right? I can't use this because 95% of all the features are made purely for accountants, and I don't need to care about those things, and I don't want to care about those things. I just want to run my business, earn money, and be on top of how it's actually doing, right?" So we ended up just creating a design, posted that on Twitter exactly 1 year ago. Like we're thinking about building this. And then from there, basically everything just took off, and our community has led our way ever since, and we're gonna continue building it like that. So
I
yeah,
love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing the background. And Midday is a bootstrapped startup, open source.
yeah,
I love how you just
yeah,
announced first the vision that this is what we're trying to do, and we're starting today
yeah,
instead of like waiting a year until you build like a version that you're happy
exactly,
with, right? So that's
yeah.
major key, major key. And of
I
course, like,
mean, it,
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
It's happened naturally, basically, because at the time we both worked full time as consultants at different startups, and of course, starting a side project, which is was in the beginning, you can't just jump full time and expect everything to happen, right? So it felt natural for us to say, "Hey, we figure out about building this," and based on that feedback and those kind of indications that we got, kept us going, but also made the momentum, but also give us feedback to actually jump on this full time, which we did in May this year. So we've been working full time since May.
Do it whether you're an indie hacker, a solo dev, or like a startup founder, bootstrap or not. That you should announce your vision and you should create that community and get the validation from people's early response. And that validation has been in place for you, like in a very visible way. Just the growth of the open source repository and then the number of people using Midday speaks to that. And you mentioned Twitter earlier. I feel like, in tech Twitter, you and Stephen Tay from Dab, I feel like you guys make the most compelling product tweets. Just like the quality and the cadence.
That's the best diploma I can get.
I know, right? And that has been important for Midday in terms of distribution and people learning about it, right? So how did you approach this so far, and how do you manage that? Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a natural thing for me. Like, I want to know how things work, and that's how I'm learning to program, learning everything I do. I want to know every bit of it. And how I'm learning is basically look how others are doing, or reading a book or something. And then I'm just iterating on everything until it works. Or if it doesn't, then I'm stopping, of course, and changing approach. But I mean, just look at Stephen Tay, for example. He's doing really, really good on social media. So of course, looking at him and others, I mean, just makes sense. Just take some bits there, and adapt it to your own approach, basically.
Exactly. And that being said, you definitely have invested the time and the care and in having a workflow, right? Because it almost feels like that when you're building product, you're also kind of like at the same time, capturing material for the posts. Like how exactly do you go about doing it? Because again, like I see them every day and your posts have like hundreds of reactions like every time. So
yeah. To be fair, I think Twitter is basically my colleagues. I mean, it's just me and Victor working. He's a designer, I'm the engineer. And it's two parts. It's like showing others how I'm doing things. That is giving me the energy and the momentum to actually keep going. But also get validation and new customers, potential customers, because we're solving real problems that others have. And we're realizing that super fast because we got this one-to-one communication. And sure, I have a workflow where I can share code snippets, I can share videos about the feature, and usually do that with a video. And then I use ScreenFlow and show the video when I actually have built like a prototype, or even the full-fledged flow. Showing that with Screen Studio, creating a tweet. I can't spell, so I use Typefully. Press on a button to fix grammar, and then post it basically. And the nice thing, it's posted on Twitter, but also LinkedIn. So yeah, it's a streamlined workflow for sure.
I love it. So you mentioned Screen Studio for capturing these nice GIFs and videos, and then you mentioned Typefully for making the post.
Yeah.
Judging from the output, then that's we should check out these platforms. And to stay on top of it, like, do you actually like have kind of like, oh, I made the tweet for today or the post for today? Do you actually have it in your calendar, in your to-do list that you regularly stay on top of it, or?
No, I usually finish something every day. And of course, I would say I'm pretty structured. Victor is also really structured in terms of what we need to do. Where we are in Midday is basically, we are in a beta where we're going to have our version 1, which is the promise we have on the website, done in 1 month, roughly. And that means we have invoicing feature left, which is the most highly requested one. So we're sharing bits by bits. We have a workflow with a timeline in Notion. So I know exactly what I need to do every day. And Victor and I are talking on the phone, basically more than I talk with my girlfriend. But we have a lot of back and forth, and I think that's make us super, super fast.
I like it. Another way of saying this is that, like, if you didn't post about it, you didn't ship it. Like, okay, you merged
exactly.
You merged the PR, but like if you don't tweet about it, it's like it was never shipped.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And people can tell because we are open source, right? If it's not in there, it's not done.
exactly, and not just open source, but also an open startup, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
what motivated you to do this, and how do you think it like benefits you as a company to do
Yeah.
that?
I mean, when I started, it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna be an open startup because it's like the thing to do, but it's rather what do I value in things that I invest in sort of systems and platform for my business. And I
Hmm.
think rather than jumping on a huge company that runs like finances or anything, I would rather go with a system that is fully transparent, open source. Actually the people working with it, you could potentially have one-to-one communication and have influence on the product. And you can also see that they are shipping, right? Because you as a company to change a system, that is an investment that you don't want to do that often, right? Because you just want to do your things and earn money on sending invoices and those kind of things, right? So it felt natural to just be as transparent and open as possible. And that solves a lot of like trust, of course, but also building a community around Midday. Because we are fully self-founded, it's important to us to actually build a solid foundation with core users that we can ask for feedback and have this kind of meetings with, because they will help us find the way, basically.
I love it. Definitely like an edge for all these, and I can add also for growing the team because you attract people that think
Exactly.
like yourself, yeah. And I see that even your cap table is like public, and then I
Yeah.
feel like during the demo we will also see like the numbers, like your burn rate and everything, because you use your own product, your dog food, Midday.
Yeah, so that is from my consultant firm. I'm, as I mentioned, this is a system that I really, really needed when I worked as a consultant just some months ago. So yeah, I'm not using it as a consultant anymore, but I'm just using it for my business to be on top of things. But yeah, I know what I needed, and Victor also know what he needed when he worked as a consultant.
Love it, love it. And with that, do you think we can jump into a demo? Maybe you could share your screen.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Awesome. Okay, let's get set up.
So I'm not gonna see you anymore
Hmm.
because I'm sharing my full screen. So yeah, but basically, let me know if you can see it already.
Yep, we can see it. Perfect.
So basically, Midday, for those who don't know, is an all-in-one system, all-in-one tool for freelancers and micro businesses, entrepreneurs to one, be on top of their finances with connecting to your already bank account that you already have. So we use open banking in whole Europe, US, Canada, and soon Brazil. So we have three different banking providers that we use to get your transactions, get your balances, and with that we can give you burn rate, what you're spending on, and all those kind of things. So this is what you're seeing right now, that this is my burn rate. I know what I'm paying. I'm paying a lot of taxes here, for example, then it goes up. And I see my runway and those kind of things, which is super important. And these things, I paid my accountant to calculate for me before. Now you get it in a click of a button. It's updated all the time. So it makes total sense. Can you hear me now? Yeah, yeah, cool. I lost yeah. So this is the burn rate. I have expenses. You can be on top of your biggest expenses, of course, what's recurring. So we figure out what's recurring or not. So you really can be on top of your spending. Of course, your revenue that is measured against your previous year. And this, for those who don't know, is in Swedish krona. I'm from Sweden, so that makes sense. But also, we have a base currency feature where you can select a currency if you have different banking accounts in different currencies. We can convert that to one base currency, so you can be on top of your finances, even if it's multi-currency. So that's quite nice. Other than that, we have like an assistant, these kind of things where you can just ask deeper questions, find receipts, find documents, all those kind of things that you need to be super on top of when you just when you want to find a receipt, for example. You just want to write that like show me the receipt from Supabase, invoice, for example, invoice, Supabase, and demos never work, right? So this will probably not work. But yeah, it's quite nice. You can do a lot of things.
Could you
Otherwise,
could you do a little zoom and like show us again the AI assistant, because that was pretty cool.
yeah. So I have a lot of. You can do basically everything on top of your finances, invoices. You have a vault where all your files end up. Usually when you run your business, you have contracts, you have everything. So that means you can find everything you need in one click, basically, because you can install Midday on your computer as a native app. So you can just press command space and then you can just search for everything you need. For example, let's see, what's my runway? That is a good one. Okay. Basically, historical data, you expect the runways is 7 days, 7 months, not days, of course. And then you can, you can ask whatever. What's my burn rate? There's some examples. What's my spending on software? It's pretty fun. So yeah, you can ask whatever. So this is really something people love. Just dig deeper into their finances. That is one part, like the financial aspect of it. You get notification when you have new transactions, when you get paid, and those kind of things. And then you have the other side where you need to reconcile like receipts and invoices against your transactions, because Midday is a pre-accounting software. You can basically reconcile everything for your accountant or export that to your accounting software to save a lot of time. And that is thanks to the inbox feature. And the inbox is basically, we give you one unique email address where you can send in things, add that to, for example, your subscription on, I don't know, Spotify or Vercel, and the invoice get sent in. It's sent in here. And then we extract the information, match that against the transaction automatically. And then it's just a matter of exporting that to your accounting software or your accountant. So that saves a lot of time. Plus on that, every file that comes in, it's searchable. So if your computer breaks or something, you can search for your Apple invoice or your Apple receipt, and you have it already in Midday, right? And then you have transactions that I mentioned. So that's all my transactions. And you can see this is already matched with the invoice. This is ready to be exported. So you can select these kind of things. And in this case, I'm gonna download a zip file with the CSV and all the matched PDFs. So it's already done, basically. And then you can ask, like, everybody loves AI, right? So for example, Q1 last year. So you can show transactions for Q1 last year, or transactions without receipt. I can't spell receipts. No attachment. So yeah, it's like we're trying to change the workflow to give you what you need the most when you need it, right? And we're trying to automate all the things for you. Auto reconciliation, invoices comes in, etc. And basically just you can focus on running your business and earning money instead. We have a time tracker. Usually as a freelancer, you track time or days or something on a project. And then in the end, you want to send an invoice for that to actually earn the money. So this is just recently updated from a lot of feedback from our users. So you can drag like multi-days here, and then you can add, I worked 8 hours, and then the project, Midday in this example, and then you add that. And then in the end of the month or whenever, you can convert this to an invoice. And this is actually the last feature which we're working on. So this is local host, just to be fair, is coming out in probably 2 weeks for early adopters. So you can then send the invoices to your customers, and you got to get it auto-matched to the transaction, because we know when it comes in. So it's going to be marked as paid. You can send reminders, all those kind of things. And it's a pretty neat experience to create invoices also. Like everything is editable. We're using Stephen Tay's editor here. So yeah, a lot of fun things.
This is
And then
amazing.
you get this thanks. Yeah, you get this kind of payment score based on your customers, how good they are actually paying you. So you know, like, yeah, I really need to send this reminder fee or something to this customer to fix this number. So you're always on track of how your business is doing, not only financially, but I mean, for all the aspects of running it. The vault that I mentioned, everything ends up here. You can drag and drop your contracts. We can classify that and give that a tag. So this is a contract. And it's really nice. For example, you can see like this is a tag that you get, and then you can just search for like, show me the contract from customer X. So you're always on top of things that you may need, like, oh yeah, I have 12 months contract, for example, and you can find that. Yeah, those kind of things. And last week we launched our first app in our app store or apps, which is a Slack app. This basically gives you one notifications for new transactions and new invoices, but also you're given an assistant within Slack. They just recently launched their own assistant button, so you can talk with Midday directly from Slack, but also on the phone. For example, the workflow is when you get a new transaction, you can answer with a PDF, and that is automatically a match against that transaction. So it's concluding the whole flow basically, and that's why we have this circle on the website. Like running a business is basically a circle. You're doing everything after each other, like be on top of the finance and accounting, pre-accounting things, sending like tracking hours, sending invoicing, getting paid, storing files, and then you start over again. In Sweden, you usually do it every month or every third month. So we're gonna automate all these kind of hurdles and bring that into one flow, basically one system. Yeah. Yeah,
Because these can be contributed by
exactly.
the community. And then even
Yeah,
all the bank connectors, so that wherever you live in the world, you can run your business seamlessly with Midday. That's also yet
exactly.
another part of it. And I just want to highlight at this point again that this was built by a single developer who was working part-time and only has been working full-time the past few months, who is self-financing this. And anyone can go and check out the code and self-host it and use it for free today. This just is blowing my mind, honestly. And it's thousands of businesses already using this, right?
Yeah, so that's actually, we started this in 1 year ago, working full time on other assignments until May this year. So since 5 months, both me and Victor have been working full time with Midday. Self-founded, we are free right now because we are not done with the version 1 yet, and we're gonna start to charge money in Q1 next year. And we're gonna launch invoicing, which is the last feature, a big feature, of course, and we're going to iterate together with our users and gathering feedback, probably within the end of the month. And based on the feedback, we're going to just iterate and refine the product until Q1 next year. And until then, you're actually getting this deal of $49 per month for everything. We're probably going to end up a little bit higher than that in next year when we're starting to charge. But yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, we're spending our own money, but we think this is the right choice right now. And both me and Victor, I think it shows. I mean, we truly have our time of our lives. We felt that we are doing one, something that we really, really love, and two, something that we really, really need, especially when we run our own consultant firms. So we know the space, and we're learning a lot from our users. I mean, you can book a meeting, a 50-minute meeting with me, like with Cal on our website, and people are doing that, and they give us these great ideas, and we find the patterns in those ideas, and then we're doing it for them, and that gives us like core users that loves our product from basically day one, instead of working in stealth mode for 1 year and say, here we are ready now, and nobody knows about us. So I think it just makes sense for us to work in public, work together with users, and say like, hey, we are in a beta, things aren't done yet, but provide us with feedback. I mean, you have the button here, send us your feedback, we're gonna listen for sure. You can, people that answer our like weekly emails or monthly emails, we're reading every one of them, we're answering as soon as we can, because these are our guiding stars.
I love it, man. Tons of lessons here for founders and indie hackers and solopreneurs alike, and big startups too. I mean, this is I'm super impressed by what you have accomplished to date. Congratulations, congratulations, truly.
Thanks.
It's
Thanks.
you don't see it every day. You don't see it every day, and like I also feel like as a team ourselves, like we feel kind of like close to you in the sense that we're just two co-founders, bootstrapped in Europe, only one of them codes. We're probably like close in age too, and we also like started building Algora to address a personal need, which is, oh, we're a
Yeah.
small team and we need help. We cannot yet, hire full-time people to help us out. How could we like, press a button and someone awesome helps us out? And that turned
Yeah.
out to be the bounties. And then, we're
Yeah.
we're actually, I don't know if whether I'm supposed to say this, but we're working on a new version that will be open source. So the bounties platform will be open source, covering bounties, projects, jobs, and basically it's gonna be an open source Upwork alternative. And so this is the first time I guess to say this
Nice.
on air, but it's coming soon.
Yeah.
And again, it started from a personal problem. We're gonna continue dog fooding it and staying
Yeah.
close to the customer, hearing what they need and like building for them. And I think, the sustainability of it like is a natural outcome of working like that. I'm sure it will be for you. I know you have been doing free, but the proper pricing or sort of like a paid version is coming up in the next months. And I
Yeah.
think the conversion is going to be fantastic because this is tons of value that you have already given people, for free.
Yeah. I mean, even though, I mean, we are building a product that we see really have a purpose, because as I mentioned before, we needed this. And of course, pricing is the hardest thing you can do in
It is.
in terms of running a company or a SaaS product. So of course, we're giving ourselves away really really cheap and see if that is possible, and then we're gonna raise the price for the version one. So yeah, if you trust our process, feel free to sign up and grow with us basically. But of course, we're going after freelancers, and I mean,
Hmm.
there are some huge freelancer businesses nowadays there. I mean, everybody's going from being employees to do their own thing. It's a really good shift that we're trying to really help out with. Like we're gonna be with the system that I want to use.
Totally, totally. What do you think is the role of AI in this new phenomenon of more people starting their own businesses and running a business that some years ago it took like five more people to
Yeah,
run it? So and do you use it? Like, what's your favorite tool?
yeah. I mean, I probably would need one more engineer if I didn't have Cursor. I mean, it's a mental thing more than coding thing, because I get the help I need to just iterating on a thought or a solution. And I think it's of course it's good to have knowledge of programming before, but that gives me the extra like senior engineer on my back that says, yeah, this looks great. This is gonna work pretty good in the long run. Uh, and that means I'm more confident in my solutions, which means I can move much faster. Uh, and yeah, for me, it makes total sense to use something like Cursor.
And while we were speaking, we pulled up this directory of Cursor like prompts and like setup that you can have. So we're just like
Yeah,
shuffling through it right now. And that was like that was very popular on Twitter. I feel like it was shared a lot. We just showed it on Hacker News. So tell us about that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's actually when I moved down to France. I felt both me and Victor felt like, oh yes, let's do a weekend thing, and I just installed Cursor, and then I got blown away actually, and that's quite uncommon in tech world for me. Like I'm usually keeping my tools, and I'm too grumpy to change, but I jumped on Cursor and I got blown away, and that made me realize. I think it was Josh who builds maybe that shared his like Cursor rules.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
gave me the idea. Okay, can I find this like predefined somewhere? But I couldn't. They have a forum where I like search for like specific things, and then yeah, then we just throw up the website. I think we had something in 3 hours, And then we did a post, and then it went total crazy. It still has a lot of visitors, and people really like it. So now it's a self-living thing. It's open source. People do contributions, adding rules. So it's really fun.
Super cool. When you collaborate with Victor, who you said leads design, and the design is like, oh my god, as one of the product is already fantastic, but that design just makes it a pleasure to use, I feel like. So how do you guys collaborate
Yeah,
on that? Like, do you use Figma, or does he go into the
yeah.
dev workflow at all? Yeah.
No, it's but he actually will jump into thanks to Cursor. He's
Yeah.
starting to because he's really technical. Actually, I mean, he's a great designer for sure. But how we are working is like we have been working together for several years at Klarna, but also different projects. We don't need to iron out all the details, which means we can really fly because we're thinking like one person. And together with Cursor, I mean, that's like we're working multiply with like he has a design direction, and we use some SHAD-CN components, and we know like okay, we can apply these components. He don't need to do all the flows in Figma, for example. So Victor is doing a beautiful design, but the UX and the actual implementation, we are doing that in code. Also thanks to Vercel with like comments. He's sharing a preview environment. He logs in. We're talking on the phone all the time and like, but can we move this button to the left instead? I mean, those kind of things are so much faster than just doing in code nowadays. So that's our workflow basically, and we live and breathe like product design and Midday. So
Love
we're
it.
doing everything all the time.
Love it, and it shows. So you talked about how you collaborate with Victor. You talked about like all this social media activity that we see behind me. What your workflow is there. You mentioned that you're bootstrapped. Like, want to double click on that. Like, what's the experience effectively like? Because it's hard, but it also has its positive things. So like maybe we get an extra comment here for other people who may consider this as a viable option for them to run their new project, their new startup. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's byproduct. I mean, it depends, of course. But
Hmm.
for Midday, I can just talk from Midday's perspective. I mean, we started this as a side thing for ourselves, and then I posted a tweet one year ago, and that design doesn't look at all what we have right now, of course. But this is the idea. I'm thinking about doing this. This is the technology stack I'm going to use. It's going to be fully open source. And I think I had like 200 followers back then, which is really good. Starting from, I mean, I started my Twitter account several years back, but just lurking around. But I posted that and got fantastic feedback. Made like a landing page, and then the signups just keep going. So this grew in the back of our heads while we still worked full time. And on late nights and weekends, we just pumped code and design and did the things that we thought were right. And we realized like our tweet made comments, and the comments made us realize the things we actually need to focus on. Because when people saying, I see value in this, I see value in that, that gives a clear indication like this is something that potentially could be bigger than us. And that's what actually made our way to where we are right now. We're finding the path as we go. We have a clear like end goal, of course, but we're diverging a bit because we get feedback and iterating together with the customers. And starting a bootstrap company from day one, I would just start to post and see if you get any traction. And based on that, trust your gut feeling. I mean, that's something that I'm constantly get amazed about. Like when something feels right, it's usually right, and if it doesn't feel right, it's not. I mean, and you're learning when it's not right because you're gonna get hit sometimes, but you're learning and dialing in the gut feeling, like how you're doing. I think that is the it's a little bit cheesy, but that really guides us also. Like we should really trust ourselves because you're building up some sort of, I don't know, experience, sharing things and getting feedback, and then you get signups and you're keeping momentum, and it's like it's really nice to just start doing things and see how far you can take it, right? Um,
to bring it closer to home, a few days ago, I was speaking with Zeke from keygen.sh, a bootstrap commercial open source company that does millions. And, it's just himself. And he was saying that you really gotta believe in it and not give up on your idea. And how, like, if you
Yeah,
check tech Twitter today, like, people tell you basically, hey, try something quickly, half-ass
yeah.
it. In a month, if it doesn't hit, move on, start something else. And he was saying, for the first year, I didn't even make a single dollar, and I was like plowing away at this. So yeah, I think this
I
is
mean,
important.
that is, of course, you can do a lot of products in a short amount of time, but that's how I work. I mean, I really need to believe in something and trust something and go fully into something. Uh, and so I think that's not for me. If it's for you, I mean, sure, do that. I mean, if that gives value and people start to pay for it, of course, that is a good thing to do. But I'm more about building something long term and doing it. I would say, like, really focus on it to refine it, basically. Um, that is more for me.
You just to kind of like land this plane. Are there any mistakes? Like, you told us about all the great
Yeah.
things you do that have made you successful, but like maybe something that was not a good idea that you did that you can share, or something you might see other founders do that is like, oh, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a technical guy. I like shiny new tech. I like new things, right? I would say, I mean, jumping on tech hype is one thing that could potentially hurt you in the long run. Uh, and do the things that are more fun than necessary. That is
Mm-hmm.
something I'm struggling with all the time, of course. Uh, I would say really focus on the end goal and take the right decision as many times as possible. But with that said, it's also super easy to be hard on yourself. And I think I have been a little bit too hard on myself. That is one thing. Trust the process. Trust that what you're doing is actually worth doing. Otherwise, you will get a little bit crazy in the end. Um, so I think that is the most important thing. Trust yourself. If you're doing this, I mean, you need to trust yourself, but also don't be as hard on yourself. You don't need that. So yeah, those kind of things. Really focus on the journey, because it's really fun, of course, if you have the possibility to run your business bootstrap, own all the decisions. I mean, I'm super free with what we are doing, and that's a really sweet spot with building a company. So it's finding the balance there, like doing the necessary but also enjoying it. uh,
Very tough balance to maintain, but
yeah,
critical.
yeah,
Critical,
yeah,
much like
yeah,
everything
it's
else,
super hard.
easier said than done, like everything you've
Yeah,
accomplished. I I really appreciate the opportunity to have this chat with you.
same.
And I think everything you shared with us today can be very, very helpful for people like us who are looking to grow their business and their career in tech. And as a closer, maybe we can give a call to action to all the people that you would like to try Midday. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you are in the sector of like working as a consultant or a small business, I mean, you're probably ending up with needing some sort of system to be on top of your finance or send invoices or track hours, etc. I mean, give us a shot. If you don't like it, let me know, because that's super valuable. That's even more valuable than you if you like it from the beginning, because that's gonna dial our end goal even better. So yeah, it's free right now. Give us feedback.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much once again for making the time. This was really fun. Great talking to
Same.
you,
Thanks
Pontus.
so much. See you
Awesome.
around.
Catch you soon. Yeah. Cheers.